Hey everybody, it's Emily, the Crazy Worm Lady. I'm here today with our blue worm bin updates. I had to knock a few guys off that were climbing the sides. But there weren't any on the lid, as a matter of fact. Well, maybe there is like one down over here. But there's no condensation buildup, so that's a plus. But I wanted to see how they were getting along with the feeding that we gave them last week. I think it was on this side, but we'll find out. The consistency in here feels really good. I'm trying to run my bins a bit on the drier side, and it seems to be working well. The worms don't seem to mind. It's still moist, but it's just not overly moist to the point where the castings are really sticking together a whole lot. But I'm assuming now, since I didn't see a whole lot of worms that we fed over here, I might have had myself turned around. Where are my worms? It's a mystery. I guess they're just kind of all throughout this. But haven't had any escapees, so I'm not really sure where they went. Here's some melon rinds. There are a few guys on there. They look nice and fat and happy. But I think they blew through the food yet again. As much as I dig, I'm not finding a whole lot. So let's take a peek in the other bin real quick. To turn some of these sprouts in here, and we'll get this fed up. Okay, so this bin had a few more climbers than the other one did. There were a few on the lid, but minimal to no real condensation buildup, which is a plus. So we'll just take a quick little dig around in here. Can still see some of that coconut core hasn't been processed because it still has that light brown color as opposed to the kind of the darker black consistency of the finished compost. But again, I'm not seeing a whole lot of food, so there's not really any worm balls to speak of. Unless, of course, our feeding was over here. And it appears that it may have been. I'm going to mark my feeding today to make this easier so we can keep my updates a little bit shorter. I know they can get a little bit lengthy. But the worms are a beautiful color. There's very minimal food left in here. That's a little bit of ginger. That'll take a while to break down. It was frozen first, but ginger just doesn't break down very quickly. So a little bit more action in this bin than in the other one. So since they're pretty much through the food, onion, forbidden food, guys, and look, they're all over it. Not seeing, as I say that, there's one beetle, but very few of those little grain beetles in here, which I'm attributing to the fact that I've been adding some neem cake and trying to keep my feedings a little bit smaller, run these bins a little bit drier. So I'm pleased with the fact that there's not nearly as many as we have had in the past. I think I'm on to something with running the bins drier, using neem cake, diatomaceous earth, really burying everything up. So I'm going to get the food together and we'll get this fed. Alright, so we're going to get this fed up. I just cleared a space down here in the front. I have been saving used paper towels. I'm not always great about it, but I tried to make a concerted effort this week not to forget about it. and I've just been leaving them in a little container on my kitchen counter, and I thought I would use some of them as bedding this week. Really just trying to play around with trying not to waste as much as possible, to recycle and things like that. So, sorry I couldn't get this. This is just some oyster shell. I'm going to also add some neem cake. And I do have a nice feeding for them today. Just going to give a handful of used coffee grounds, some melon pieces here, banana peels, that type of thing. There's actually some more paper towel in there as well. So I'm just going to give about half of this feeding here. And the other half we will put in our other bin. Smells kind of rank. But I think that should be good for in here. And like I've said, castings are even better than anything else as a barrier from bugs. So I'm just going to use the castings to cover up what we have down here. And I'm just going to mound everything up a little bit more on this front side than the back side, and just leave these guys for another week. And let me grab the other bin and we'll get that one fed up as well. Alright, so the same thing over here. Just some paper towels, eggshell, some neem cake. I have the rest of this feeding. I have a paper towel in here that actually was also in with the feeding. I'm going to wring it out a little bit because it's very wet from all of the thawed liquid, but I'll put that in here as well. All those juices will definitely attract the worms in. And then there's a little bit of coffee down here as well. So I'm just going to throw that in. This is pretty wet, but I think the system will be able to handle it just fine. Just gonna mound these castings up back over the top. Try to keep the pests at bay. And we'll leave this bin for another week. Been having trouble with my lighting, huh? Okay, we'll leave this for another week and see how they do with it. But all in all, this bin has been doing really well. I've said it before, I'm impressed once we started feeding a little bit heavier, how well these guys handled it. So I'm going to level this all out. I'll leave the lid off of both of these bins until probably tomorrow or so to make sure it doesn't get too moist in here. And then we'll follow up next week. So let me know what you think. Drop those comments below. Like this video, subscribe if you'd like some more content from me, and I'll be back with you guys real soon for an update.